Okay, so now I would like to share the floor with Sebrena. So Dr. M. Sebrena Jackson is an assistant professor at and the MSW Program Director at the University of Alabama School of Social Work. She received the NASW Georgia and NASW Alabama Social Worker of the Year awards for her work with transition age foster youth. So welcome, Sebrena. Thank you so much for being here, and I will hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy, for sharing. I want to make sure that you guys are able to see the slides. Are you able to see the slides okay on my screen?
I see them, yes,
okay.
And we are getting some yeses, so we're good.
Perfect, so I'll just get going. Again, thanks so much to Amy for the opportunity. Of course, this is a subject that and I know most of you are really passionate about, and so I'm appreciative of the opportunity to talk to you about this pre-college summer experience that we have in the state of Alabama. So I know these are stats that group who are participating in a webinar like this are stats that you're familiar with, but I think it's important for us to review them and to make sure we're on the same page. So as we look at what's happening with education, with youth, particularly youth transitioning from foster care, we see roughly 50% of foster youth who complete high school by age 18. A percentage when we look at the number of 17 to 18-year-olds who want to go to college, roughly, depending on the literature that you see or the research that you find, roughly 84% of those youth want to go to college, which is really important to this conversation we're going to have today. However, when we look at the percentage of foster youth who have graduated from high school and who actually attend college, it's only roughly 20%. And then when we go a little deeper, delve a little deeper, the percent of foster youth who actually attain a bachelor's degree, depending on the literature and the research, is anywhere from 2 to 9%. And the reason why I wanted to highlight these stats or even mention them, for me, it's a reminder about the importance of the work that you're doing in the community, whether that's in research or whether that's in practice. These statistics remind us of how important it is for us to continue to do this and to have this conversation about this population. One of the quotes that I enjoy having a conversation about came from Casey Family Programs, and they said, youth in foster care often report that few people in their lives ever expected them to attend and succeed in college. And the reason why I wanted to share this is that in the state of Alabama, and I'm sure in your states as well, you know, we're having this conversation because it's important to change the expectation. And as we begin to develop programs and even move forward to do work with the population, we have to first change the expectation, not only the expectation that youth have of themselves, but we saw that 84% want to go to college. So I don't know if their expectation is the challenge, but when we're talking about those who are working with the population, social workers, foster parents, school counselors, policymakers, we need to be sure that there's an expectation from these groups that youth who are transitioning from foster care can go to college. Not only can they go to college, but they can also succeed when they do find themselves in college. Another quote I wanted to highlight before we get into the details of the program is this was a report from the National Working Group on Foster Care and Education. This was actually the title of their report, Education is the Lifeline for Foster Youth in Foster Care, or Education is the Lifeline for Youth in Foster Care, I should say. And this is one that I kind of keep before me as well as I'm doing this work with youth, because I believe that it truly is a lifeline for foster youth. I've seen that it's a difference maker. And I even think about my personal experience as a first-generation college student and how education was really a difference maker for me in terms of opportunities to do other things. And we're seeing that also with youth. So again, this is a report from the National Working Group, and you're welcome to search and review that report. So when we start thinking about research and as it relates to pre-college programs and work with foster youth entering college, you know, studies suggest that one of the major factors contributing to low college attendance and graduation rates for foster youth is really around a lack of college preparation. And so for me, the the need and to see the need to increase actually the number of foster youth who are exposed to summer programs on college campuses. And I think around the country, we've seen tremendous growth of summer programs designed specifically for foster youth to help to deal with those statistics that we talked about. And the program that I want to share with you today, called the National Social Work Enrichment Program, or we use the acronym NSEP for short, is one of those programs. It's designed specifically for youth that are in foster care here in the state of Alabama. Our tagline is inspiring the next generation of social workers. And although that's the tagline and that's, a area that I'm passionate about because of my profession, the program is definitely open to youth who are interested in any major. And we serve youth that are interested in a variety of majors. So let me just give you a quick overview of NSEP. It's a partnership with our Alabama Department of Human Resources. We work with the state office to deliver the program. Funding comes from the State Department of Human Resources to administer the program. NSEP is a 6-week summer academy experience on campus. So it's fairly long in terms of the amount of time that you spend on the campus with us. They actually live in the residence halls. They dine in the campus facilities. They use rec facilities, just a number of areas on campus during that time. They have class. Generally if there's a social work program or school of social work, they have classes in those buildings. The youth access the on-campus recreational facilities. They actually are considered when they're on campus as visiting scholars through our academic area, and so they receive student IDs, campus IDs, and they're able to access a number of facilities around campus because they have those student IDs during the time. We often partner with social work programs to host when we are on different campuses to host a program, and that's been a really, really good fit for us. In terms of sites, we have gone from, early on in the program, we had 1 site, then we went to 2 sites, and at one point we've had as many as 3 sites. And so you see on the screen, we've partnered with Alabama A&M, Alabama State University, which are 2 HBCUs here in Alabama, and of course the University of Alabama. Right now, we currently have the 1 site. And frankly, a lot of that is just because of time and just the amount of time that it takes to run the program and to do that, and also funding. We currently have the 1 site that we hope will roll out again this summer. When we think about the youth that become a part of the program is designed for high school juniors and high school seniors and recent graduates. Youth have to be at least 16 years old to participate in the program. And part of that is just around maturity, to be able to be in this college environment, because there are other students living in the dorms with them. When they're in the cafeteria, they're around college students. And so although there's quite a bit of supervision from staff, youth have to have the maturity to be able to be on the campus with the amount of supervision that we have. We also open the program if we have students that are working on their GED and they're planning to go to college. They're also eligible to be a part of the program. They're referred by their social worker, and youth can also do self-referrals. As they learn about the program from other youth who participated, they also reach out directly and apply. We do require that there's a letter of support or a letter of recommendation from their social worker as a part of the application process. And the application is really simple. We didn't want the application to be a barrier to youth. So it's just a 2-pager that just gives a general, just introduces the youth to us. They talk about their activities that they're involved in high school. They write a short essay about 2 pages talking about themselves and their goals and how they believe participating in this program is going to help them move forward, with their goals. Youth who participate in the program or who prior to receiving an acceptance, they also have to be approved by our state independent living office. The coordinators do a more thorough kind of search to make sure that there are no kind of behavioral things or anything that would hinder youth from benefiting from the program. For example, we want to make sure that the youth doesn't have a recent history of running away because of the kind of environment that they're going to come to. or any other kind of severe emotional or behavioral kinds of things that would negatively affect the youth, but also other youth that are in the program and others on the college campus. Generally, those who are referred by their social worker or approved by their social worker are accepted into the program. It's rare that a youth is not accepted, and all of that is really contingent upon funding. When we think about how we recruit youth for the program, we use a variety of methods. We have here in the state of Alabama what we call a Dream Council, which is the youth advocacy group here in the state. And so we attend those monthly meetings. They are held regionally around the state. And so we talk about the program at those meetings, have tables where we have applications available. We talk to social workers. We attend supervisors conferences and the IL social workers conferences, and just do a number of things to get the word out about the program. Of course, NSEP has a website as well. We collaborate with other state providers, such as the group home providers, to also get the word out about the program. And we generally don't have many issues with recruiting youth. It's the challenge is often, kind of that cutoff, and how can we serve more youth is usually the challenge that we have. I mentioned before that we do have staff that are available and actually live on campus with the youth. We have 3 program assistants that we hire to help provide the day-to-day supervision of the youth. And those program assistants are generally social work majors. We work with BSW and MSW program students, not just here at the University of Alabama, but I put a call out to social work programs around the state. And we interview those students. The BSW students have to be at least seniors, and the MSW students could be at any point in their program. But it really becomes a great learning opportunity for the students who are participating in the program. We also have 2 transportation specialists that I kind of refer to as our adult kind of staff, because they tend to be older. They actually live in the dorms as well, so providing some additional supervision and oversight. But their primary role is around, we have vans that we use to transport the youth, and so that's their primary responsibility, but they also provide additional supervision for us. We also have 2 peer mentors that we hire to work during those 6 weeks, and the peer mentors are former NSEP scholars who participated in the program. So that means that they are in foster care, and they're also enrolled in college. And so we found that it really makes a difference for the peer mentor to have this leadership opportunity, but it also makes a difference to have them serving in this role, so that the youth who participated in the program, really kind of have a guide or mentor to see someone who's doing what we hope that they will eventually do in terms of graduating high school and going to college. And that has worked really well for us. Of course, we have a program director, and I've served in that capacity. And then we have a program coordinator that also works with the youth. So now I'll shift to kind of talking a little bit more about the program itself. And I'll definitely be mindful of the time so we can have enough time for questions and comments. The program has 4 components. We look at college readiness skills, or work on college readiness skills, employment skills, leadership skills, and relationship skills. So let me just tell you a little bit about each of those 4 components. I think I mentioned earlier, of course, I mentioned that it's 6 weeks. And so we have, although initially it seems like a lot of time to have with the youth, what I found is that I'm always wanting more time to address these 4 components. And so the college readiness piece, of course, is central to what we do and why we do the program. And so they have this opportunity to be on the college campus and really be immersed in the college experience. We have presenters that come during classroom time from admissions and financial aid and counseling center and student affairs and all of these offices around campus to do presentations with the youth about these areas, how these areas impact them prior to college and when they get into college as a part of the college readiness component. One of the key areas of the college readiness component is college visits. We take the youth every Thursday is our college visit day. And we use either our vans, or sometimes we partner and have, depending on the distance, we'll charter a bus to actually, we're off campus every Thursday visiting campuses. And over the course of the 6 weeks, youth visit nearly 20 campuses, and those campuses could be 2-year or 4-year colleges. that they visit over the course of the 6 weeks. So that tends to be a highlight for the youth. In addition to those presentations and college visits, we also address college readiness by talking to the youth about things like study skills and test taking and note taking, and just the differences between the transition from high school to college and some of those conversations. And our peer mentors that I mentioned earlier are really key to talking to the youth about that and leading some of those conversations. We also help youth to think about what it means to get connected once they do come to a college campus. Again, some of the youth end up enrolling here at UA, but others go to campuses around the state of Alabama. And so we really try to encourage conversations. Even the speakers that come, we try to get them to talk to youth about the services that are available on campuses, regardless of where the student will go or where the youth will go. And so getting connected on campus is a really big part of that conversation. We actually have academic advisors that come and talk to the youth, talk to them about the role of the academic advisor, how do they access that person regardless of the campus that they find themselves. We even have a registrar to come and talk to the youth because many of them have not heard the term, and it's one that they need to be familiar with when they get to campus. Other offices like career services and student life, talking to them about those programs as well, and encouraging them to get connected on the campus and why that's so important for any college student, but especially youth who are transitioning from foster care is really important. The second area or second component of NSEP is employment skills. And I know many of you have read the literature around employment and the challenges that youth transition from foster care experience in this area. And so employment, getting some basic employment skills becomes really important. Many of them that come to our program have never worked, and so they need some really basic skills. And so we've decided to have this component, and they learn interviewing skills, they develop a resume. We talk about soft skills and what that means and how to navigate that, what social media and employment and how that can impact their ability to get a job or to keep a job. And the key component in the employment skills component of our program is around the work experience. We actually partner with social service agencies in the community where the program is held. And those social service agencies are gracious enough to allow youth to have work experiences at their sites. And the youth generally work Monday through Wednesday from around 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our staff actually transport them to work and also pick them up from those work sites. And those tasks, they do a variety of tasks depending on the agency where they end up working, from the basic receptionist kinds of tasks, filing, answering the phone, greeting clients that come to the door, to some agencies allow the youth to go with them on home visits to shadow the social worker and or shadows other staff. They sometimes assist with paperwork that clients complete at the agency. They help plan community events. They do activities with children at some of the sites. Just to give you a sense of the kinds of agencies that we partner with, agencies like Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, adult daycare centers, Focus on Senior Citizens, which is a program here in Tuscaloosa, Temporary Emergency Services, which offers services to families who need emergency assistance, but they also have a store that families can come and shop to get clothes and other household items. And so the youth have worked on both sides of that particular agency to make sure that the clients had services that they needed. So those are some of the agencies that we partner with, and it too is one of the fun and sometimes challenging areas for youth during the course of the 6 weeks of the program. The next component of the program is leadership, and the importance of not only just leading others, but also leading themselves as they make personal choices and decisions, to help them move forward towards their goals. And our primary partner with the leadership skills component is Toastmasters International. I'm sure you're familiar with Toastmasters having chapters all over the country. And we are fortunate that there's a chapter here in Tuscaloosa that has been a partner with us and brings in volunteers to work with the youth. They meet with our youth once a week throughout the 6 weeks of the program. And the week 5, they actually have 2 meetings as well. So they have at least those 2 hours each week with Toastmasters, and they're working with them on developing leadership skills. They actually form their own Toastmasters kind of council, and have offices or officers to assist. So they're working on different types of speech, from extemporaneous, if I can get the word out, speaking. They work on their posture, their voice, and gestures, and just all those things that they need to do when they speak publicly. Youth also, as a part of this process of leadership skill development, they have opportunities. We put the youth in teams at the beginning of the program, and so each team has a leader, and we rotate that leadership every week. And the youth select the leader, but everyone has to become a leader at some point in the 6 weeks so that they have an opportunity to lead their peers, to continue to develop their leadership skills. And their primary role in the teams, they do some activities together as a team to just help them to connect more and get to know one another, but also to help them to hold one another accountable for their behavior and their participation in activities. And we found that has worked really well. But one of the things that we've seen and heard kind of anecdotally from youth and from social workers is that the experience that youth tend to have with Toastmasters, they've seen a difference in terms of youth going through this process and then coming back to speak up in meetings that they have with their social workers and teams, even how youth tend to speak up more with judges when they're talking about their plans. And we also tend to have many of the youth who come through NSEP become leaders in that Dream Council that I mentioned to you earlier. Many of them have gone on to become leaders in that organization and very active. And so our state folk have said they've seen a difference from the beginning of the program and the work that happens with that Dream Council and youth that have been through the program. The final component of the program is around relationships and relationship skill building. We partner with our local health department. They have some grant funding to deliver the Making Proud Choices curriculum, which is an evidence-based curriculum. And Making Proud Choices is really helping the youth reduce the risk of STDs, HIV, pregnancy, and really talking about condom use and the skill of how to use a condom if they choose to have sex. But the curriculum also talks about just managing other types of relationships, knowing themselves, and what do they do when they find themselves in situations where they're being asked to have sex if they don't feel comfortable doing that. And so they have an opportunity to have those kinds of conversations. And they meet with the trainers, which are provided by the health department. They meet with those trainers every Friday for half a day around 8 to 12 is when they deliver that curriculum on Fridays. But beyond the Making Proud Choices curriculum, we also have conversations with the youth about managing the relationships with birth families. Many of them, after they graduate high school or after they transition out, we know that many of them go back to their birth families and they want to be around their birth families. And what they find is that not a lot has changed, unfortunately. And so figuring out how to manage that while also trying to move forward to reach their goals. And in this case, we're focused on graduating from high school and going to college and graduating. And so how do they manage that? For example, we have conversations during this time and even after NSEP about how to manage it when you receive a refund and those family members are calling and wanting assistance. How do you navigate that with your family? And then we also talk about just connecting with adults and making sure that they maintain relationships and identify healthy adults in their life that can help them and support them through their college process and beyond, hopefully. And another component in terms of relationships is just their relationship with their peers and just what that means to navigate that when you have 6 weeks that you're in this space with this group of people who act like you and think like you and how to navigate that. So that's always a fun part of the program. The last area I wanted to mention to you in terms of the program components, and then I'll share a few more things and we'll kind of wrap up for questions and comments. One of the things that it's important for us to do, and we realize when we have the youth on campus for that long of a period of time, for 6 weeks, that we also have a good mix of recreational kind of cultural activities. We try to minimize the downtime that youth have, and that's always a complaint on our evaluation, but I love that complaint because I don't want them to have a lot of idle time. And so we make sure that during the week, after classes and after work, after they've had dinner and come back and do rest just a little bit, they have activities like game night, and they do baking contests, which they love. And they do a lot of these kinds of activities as teams, and then other things in just general. They have talent shows and go to the gym or the rec center to play basketball, and they swim. And we even have, because they have this student status on campus, visiting status, they're able to attend exercise classes at the rec center. And so, a part of encouraging health and wellness, they do that as well. One of the things the youth enjoy is shopping, of course, and the youth receive a stipend for participation in the program. Each week they receive actually $150 per week for participating in the program, and that includes their work at the agencies, but also their work in the classroom. And we have a contract that they sign, and for some reason, if there aren't things that are done according to how they need it to be done, the stipend is where we have conversations, and they can have deductions and that sort of thing. But every Thursday when we go off campus to visit the colleges, we normally, because they also receive their stipend on that day, we also visit malls in the area. And so you get a chance to kind of see what it's like to have their own money. And although we talk about, also have a component of the program talking about budgeting and that piece, and we have some contests around that too, saving. And but we also want them to know what it feels like to have that money and have to make decisions about what they purchase. And of course, you can imagine the first thing that most of them want to purchase when they get paid the first time is a cell phone. Not surprising to you guys, I know. But we also do other activities. Every Friday they're off campus doing an activity. They go to a movie or they skate or bowl. Every Saturday, the entire group is off campus. They go to water parks around the state. So Saturday is just really a fun day. And then on Sundays, it's more relaxing. They do things like wash their clothes and clean their rooms and just kind of hang out around campus. Some youth go to church who want to do that. And then we have a meeting in the evening to kind of prepare for the week. The last week of the program, one of the highlights is to take a trip to Atlanta. Some have, and most have never been to Atlanta, so that's a pretty big deal for our youth. And so we visit places like the World of Coke and CNN and Aquarium and Six Flags, just a way to celebrate them and for moving, getting that far in the program itself. And just to give you a sense of what a typical week is like in the program, and I've talked about this just a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I give you a sense of what the average week is like. Week one, I will say the entire time the youth are on campus, because they're getting acclimated to the campus, one another, and so we really have a lot of classroom time week one. We start our work at agencies week two of the program, so it gives us a time to get to know the youth and kind of make decisions about who we believe will be the best fit for a particular agency. So they start work the second week, and so Monday through Wednesday, they're at the agency from 9 to 2. They come back directly from their agency. They take their book bag with them, with their books and other materials that they use, and they come directly to the building for class time, which is kind of interesting for some of them because they've had a full day, but they may have that experience when they go to college, that they're working and going to class. And so just giving them an opportunity to see what that feels like is helpful. They have dinner. Then there's usually a recreational activity in the evening from around 7 to 9, and then quiet time during the week. They don't have to go to sleep, but they do have to get to their own room and kind of have quiet time and wind down. And we say to them at the beginning, they can stay up all night if they choose, but they have to get up to go to class and have to get up to go to work. And so really trying to help mirror what that feels like and what that's like to have the freedom to do that, but also have the responsibility to move forward and to stay awake in class and at the agency. On Thursdays, I mentioned already that it's college visit day, and visits to the malls and Walmarts and all those places that youth like to go to purchase things that they need. And then Fridays, most of the day is class time, and then the off-campus recreational activity. And then I mentioned already on Saturdays, they're at the water parks, and Sundays, I've already mentioned the kinds of things. It's really our laid-back day. But what we say to youth is that we want to give them a sense of, although they won't have staff necessarily saying this is the time that you need to get up or this is the thing that you need to do, we want to help them to kind of create a schedule that works in terms of having a balanced class or going to work or doing those things. And so even when we think about, you know, the schedule of cleaning their room and when they wash their clothes and those kinds of things, and when they have kind of fun time, we talk to them about just kind of creating a schedule that we hope, and what we found is some of them actually kind of continue some of the process that they learned when they were with us at NSEP. So as I wrap up here in just a minute, one of the things that we also do at the very end of the program, the last Friday of the program, we know it's really important to celebrate the youth who finish. It's not an easy task to be in this environment for 6 weeks, doing the amount of work that's required of them. I don't think I mentioned they read 3 books during the course of those 3 weeks. 2, one book is more kind of inspirational, motivational. Another social work, careers in social work type text, just to kind of talk about different areas in social work. And then they usually have some book that is around finances and managing, you know, money and that sort of thing. So in addition to those books and class time, it's pretty intensive for them. So we really want to celebrate them when they're able to do that. And so we do that the last Friday of the program. Youth normally leave. They check out of the dorms immediately following the closing lunch and celebration. And it's one of my favorite parts of the program, just to see them be so proud of themselves, and for their workers to see them oftentimes even in a different light. And we invite our agency partners and state staff and their social workers. They can invite their foster parents, birth families if they're allowed to be around their birth families. University folk come, and it's just an opportunity to celebrate them. The program is youth-led from beginning to end. They do the speeches, they introduce the speakers. You know, they really lead the program. Some of them demonstrate their talent. They sing, they do poetry, they rap, all kinds of things on that Friday. And we also give them gifts, and our agency partners also give them gifts as a way of celebrating them for completing the program. So what I wanted to do is just share, we have, at the end of each program, we do really kind of a general satisfaction type survey with the youth, and that survey has some open-ended questions, and I wanted to just share a couple of those. We're definitely planning to do some more research and some other things on the program, but I wanted to just highlight a couple of things for you before we get to question and answer. And one of the questions is how has this experience in NSEP influenced how you view college? And one of the youth said, it's influenced me to go to college. Before I wasn't sure if I'd want to go, but after this program, I've decided that this is what's best for me. Another said, this experience has given me a pretty vivid view of college life. I definitely will be taking night classes because I'm not a morning person. And that's one of my favorite quotes because that's important for you to know. Another said, it's convinced me that no matter what, I'm going to go to college, which is, again, what we want to hear and want the youth to leave feeling confident that they can go and they will go. Another question we ask is, what has this experience in NSEP meant to you? And one youth said, the experience that I've had at NSEP has meant everything to me. In the past 6 weeks, I've learned the real value of friendship, trust, and communication. I've managed to break out of my shell a little more. And we know these are things that are important to youth that are in care. Another said, this experience for me has been different and exciting. I went to some of my top choices of colleges I want to go to. I've learned to grow patience and work on my attitude and money management. I made new friends and learned a lot from them. And one of the things we found in the program over the course of the last few years that we've done it, the youth do stay connected on social media. They support one another. I've seen them through social media. Again, they're there in challenging times, and they cheer one another on. And so they really build this sense of family over the course of the 6 weeks of the program. And again, as I wrap up, I didn't come for the money. I came for the experience of touring colleges and going to work and class. This has also helped my social skills and my confidence that people will accept me as me. And finally, how has experience influenced how you view yourself? I've started looking at myself in a better light. I've had self-confidence issues since I was young, and after this program, I've come to realize that I'm strong, smart, capable, beautiful, and worth it. And the last quote, I know that I'm not alone. I have people who will support and help me. It made me realize that social work is truly my passion. So where are we going with this program? Where we're hopeful that we'll get funding again to do it this summer. But until then, I've received a small grant from the university to do some in-depth interviews of participants who participated in the program. And so we have a research assistant that's interviewing youth who have participated and completed the program and are now enrolled in college. And we're hoping from those interviews, we'll develop another survey that we'll be able to administer to all the participants, at least those that we're able to locate. We've served, we know, nearly 200 youth already, and so there's a work to be done to find those youth and to gather additional information from them. We'd like to apply, after this initial study, apply for another grant so that we can continue to gather information from this population. I'd also love to follow them from completion of NSEP into college. I do that, and we do that informally because of just the connection that we build with the youth, but we'd like to have a more formalized process of working with them once they go to college, just to provide another layer of support. Because again, we built relationships with them, and it's easier to kind of keep that going versus them having to get to know a completely new person. So the closing thought I wanted to share, this is a quote that came from a youth that I found a while ago. And it's interesting that although I found it, and this wasn't a youth that had participated in NSEP, I had one of our former youth who had been a part of the program, who became a peer mentor, who she finished her bachelor's in social work at another institution, and now she's enrolled here at UA in our MSW program. She presented with me at a Fall Child Welfare Conference not long ago, and she asked if she could read this closing thought, and I wanted to share it with you today. And what she said to those social workers is, you know, I think Dr. Jackson used my quote. And of course, it wasn't her quote, but she's so identified with these words. And I think, you know, unfortunately, many youth identify with these words, but it's one that rings so true for them. And I like to use it. It says, graduating from college meant that I won. It meant that my father was wrong when he said I was stupid and lazy and a waste of space. Most of all, it meant that I would gain the knowledge to use my experience to help other people. College meant freedom from my past and the ability to choose my future. And so when we think about programs like NSEP and others that are happening around the country, you know, we really want to give young people an opportunity to be free from their past, whatever that means for them. And we want them to have the ability to choose their future. And again, we know that college makes a difference, and whether that's 2-year, 4-year technical training, whatever that means post-high school, it gives them an opportunity to have a different future than the one that they grew up in. And so I appreciate you taking the time to listen and to participate in this webinar. I'd love to talk to you more about it. So I have my contact information there. You can call me, email me. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing in your states and the kinds of programs that you have. We're always wanting to improve our work. I want to thank the National Research Collaborative for Foster Alumni in Higher Education, the leadership team, and also the members of the collaborative. It's been a great group to connect with, and I look forward to continuing to working with this group and learning more about what's happening around the country in terms of research and practice. So at this time, I want to open it up for any questions or comments that anyone might have. I think Amy said that she would help us out, and she has your questions if you've shared any. I'm not able to see them, but if you've shared any, I'm sure you place them in the chat area. So I'll turn it over to you, Amy, to help us with this part of the process.
Great, thank you so much, Sebrena. That was really great. I love hearing about your program. So if you all have questions, if you want to go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we'll just move through as many of them as we can until we run out of time. So the first question that we have for you, Sebrena, the question is, what is the size of the group served in the typical summer? What's the per student cost, and what are the funding sources?
Great question. So the size of the group, it varies, of course. We've had as few early on as about 15, and we've had as many as 60. But when we had the 60, we had them over the course of 2 campuses. And the most that we've had at one campus has probably been about 40. And again, that becomes not only a funding thing, but just the staffing and really, you know, what it takes to get to know the youth in that piece. So we've had as many as 40 on one site. I think last year we had about 35 on the campus. The per student cost, it varies by the institution, depending on our largest costs have been around housing and meals. So it averages anywhere from the average about $5,000 for a student. to participate in the program, and that includes everything from the cost for housing, their meals, to transportation, the stipend, their fees to go into all of the activities that we do offsite, just a number of expenses, the cost for staff, those kinds of things are incorporated in that. And the funding source has been through our Department of Human Resources. They've really started to invest in youth, and particularly around college preparation and wanting to support youth in their desire to go to college. And so they've used Chafee dollars to help fund programs like NSEP in the state. And we have some other types of programs, but this funding specifically has come from Chafee dollars.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next question. So the next question, and I think we answered the one question within what you just answered, so I'll skip that. But the next question is, do most of the college campuses then have a foster care alumni support network or liaison or contact when students get to that campus as a freshman?
Oh, that's a great question. We are, that's the goal, to get to the point where that is happening, but we are not there yet. That is part of what I see as part of my role and my work here in the state of Alabama, to do that. Here at UA, we're fortunate that we have a campus program that we call Alabama Reach. And so there is a designated person that specifically works with foster youth that come to our campus. We do not have that on other campuses. So what I've done is kind of informally reach out to generally my place to where I start is social work programs, if not social work programs, student affairs. And we've, kind of developed contacts, an informal kind of a list of contacts, but we want to more formalize that across the state where we do identify folk. I think the campuses are open to that. It's just, kind of getting the leadership around supporting that effort and how do we fund that and some of those kinds of things. But we've had some initial conversations with campuses, particularly the ones that youth are going to more often than the others. We've designated a person on those campuses, but it's not as structured as it needs to be, like some of the other states that we've seen.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question is, do you have any recommendations about the most manageable number of participants?
Yeah, I would think that I think 25 is a good number. We normally try to really keep the staff to student ratio pretty small, because we also expect those program assistants to get to know the individual youth. The program assistants actually lead the team, and we really try to have no more than one program assistant to 10 youth is ideal. So that's about 30. And so, anything more than that becomes a little challenging for them to manage. So I would say 25 to 30 youth is really ideal if you're going to have the 3 program assistant kind of model. And we normally have 2 females and 1 male program assistant because of just the ratio of the youth. It tends to fall out that way, over the years. And so I would say ideal is 25 to 30 for sure.
Okay. And I'm just realizing that the people on the phone don't have a way to type in questions. So someone did just email me a question. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the chat. Oh, you can't see the email address in the chat box. Silly me. So it's amy.salazar, SALAZAR, @wsu.edu if you'd like to email me a question. And sorry that you don't have access to the chat box. So the next question we have is, how many cohorts have you done? And if a student doesn't complete the program, can they reapply? Okay, great question. Well, we started the program here in Alabama in 2010. So we've essentially had about 10, a little over 10 cohorts since we got started. Well, I guess about 11 now. And so we have had students who didn't complete the program for a number of reasons. Oftentimes it's behavioral things where they, it just wasn't safe for them, or it was too much risk for us in terms of them not following policy. If they don't complete the program, right now they're not able to reapply, because we really want to give, and the state really wants to give as many youth as possible
an opportunity to be a part of the program. And so because of the limited spaces, we only allow youth to be a part of the program once. When we started initially, the state would allow us to allow youth who had completed the program to come back a second summer. But even as we started doing that and started thinking about that and the number of youth that were not getting an opportunity, because early on it was a little difficult to get the workers to refer the youth, and just kind of the process that they had to go through to get the youth prepared. And so we would allow a youth or two to come back, but now every summer we have new students that come and participate in the program, and it works out really well for us as we're planning. And because I would have to make tweaks to the curriculum every year because we have people that were returning and that sort of thing. But the short answer to your question, I know I went long. The short answer is that no, if a youth does not complete the program, they're not able to come back. But I stay in touch with those youth, and they still reach out to me, and I still help them with college, and the staff also assist them with getting ready for college. So we try to stay connected and use it as a learning experience, and not that they can no longer be a part be connected with us as a program.
Okay, so next question is, informally, how are your students doing with graduating college? What are the challenges that your former students in your program face? And what resources do you know of that assist your former students at the schools that they end up attending?
Okay, great question. I think that the challenges that they're experiencing are similar to what you guys are probably finding where you are. I think the biggest piece is just adjusting to just kind of their campus, or in terms of their needs being met. The financial aid, kind of making sure that those documents are completed on time, or they receive payment for ETV on time, and how does that impact their ability to purchase their books, and how does that impact their ability, if they were dependent on that, to do some other things. That's probably been the biggest challenge. I think one of the things that we found, because our campus is so large, we're the largest campus compared to other campuses, the transition into college is not as challenging because they've kind of learned how to navigate UA. They tend to feel really confident going to other regional universities that are a little bit smaller, or a lot smaller than us. So we don't find that as a challenge. It's really been more of the financial piece on the front end. Thankfully, Alabama recently passed a Fostering Hope Act, which now pays for tuition and fees. So we don't have as much of the financial stuff as we had before. The other piece is once they get into college, kind of navigating the process of registering for their classes, and when do I talk to my advisor, and if I'm having a challenge in a class, how do I navigate the conversation with the faculty member, because they tend to be really intimidated, and that's probably many college students, intimidated to talk to faculty. So we find those kinds of issues, and we really just encourage the youth to reach back out to us. If they don't feel comfortable talking to their social worker, to reach back to me or the coordinator, or one of the staff, former staff members, and we make ourselves available to help them to kind of navigate that. It's not an uncommon thing for me to call campuses, or to reach out to contacts that I have on campuses around the state to say, hey, I have this young person there. Can you help them with A, B, and C issue? Is what we've done. Again, really informally, so we want to more formalize that process, but that's what we find ourselves doing.
Okay, our next question, it has two parts. So first one says, does the National Resource Collaborative for Foster Alumni in Higher Ed have a current national list for campus support programs available? I'm not sure about that. I think we're probably still building that. But I'm going to type our website into the chat box so that you can see what's on the website. And we're always kind of expanding. Oh, I just sent that in a private message rather than to everyone. And we're still working and kind of expanded. The website's brand new. It just came out about a week or two ago, I think. So that's one place where we're putting some work, but we're still making progress, and we probably don't have that full list of campus support programs yet. So then the next question was, and this one's for you, Sebrena, is what did you use as a guide to develop your program?
Oh, great question. Really, I've read a little bit of the literature, but it was really just kind of developing it based upon conversations I've had with former foster youth, with social workers, from other experiences that I've had in college, as a faculty member, as a student in college, just kind of combining those things. There wasn't like one resource that I went to and I came up with these program components based upon, this one particular document. I think there is a document out there. I don't remember the group that's created the document it's a guide for campus-based programs. If you're trying to create a campus-based program, that I know it would be helpful. But in terms of when I created the program, it wasn't a whole lot out there. And so really just kind of thinking about what the needs are, and just over time, whereas I've worked with the youth, just continuing to build the program based upon the feedback that I was getting from the youth and from social workers and state folk, and then what I was finding in the literature is how I landed, and we landed on those 4 program components.
Okay. And then a related question is, are your program curriculum and materials available to review and for other people to use?
Yeah. They're not available right now, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you if you're interested in them. Please send me an email, and I'm happy to share what we have so far. The program, we do have a manual and that sort of thing, but we haven't made it available publicly. But I'm happy to share, with you if you're interested.
And we have more questions than we have time to get to, so I'm gonna do 2 more, and I just apologize in advance if we're not able to get to your questions. But I'm sure Sebrena would be more than happy for you to reach out to her by email as she said, for following up with any of those other things we can't get to. So the next question is, do you have any research that's been published as it relates to this program?
Not yet. That's our next step. I'm actually working on a manuscript now. I think I shared to the collaborative group. We've been so busy just kind of doing the work and, involved in the program and not stopping to write about it. And so that's one of the things that we're doing now is stopping to write about it. So we're working on a manuscript now that just kind of gives an overview of the program and just kind of talking about these components in a little more detail and what research is out there related to the components. And so I'm hopeful that we'll submit it toward the end of February, and I'm hopeful that'll be available. And once it is, hopefully it's accepted, it'll be posted on the National Collaborative site, and we'll share that. And then, of course, from this qualitative study that we're doing, the interviews, we'll publish from that. So right now we don't have any articles out there. So that's the goal at this point. We've been doing the work. Have a lot of anecdotal evidence from the work that we've been doing, and now we want to get some things out in the literature about it. So thanks for asking that question.
Okay, and the last one is, I just lost it. Oh, is this program, do participants have to be residents of Alabama?
Right now they do, because of the funding coming from the state of Alabama DHR, they do. We've had thoughts about partnering with other states and maybe having it where states could send their youth to Alabama to participate. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. And we've kind of gone back and forth about that piece and whether or not other states would be interested, either sending their youth to Alabama or considering starting their own program and our assistance in starting their own program in their state. I'm open to that conversation as well if there's someone interested in doing it on a site, on a campus in your particular state.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Sebrena. We've had a couple people ask for your email. Would you mind putting that back up on the screen so people can have another chance to grab that?
Okay.
So Sebrena's email's on the screen. I am sending mine out in the message box.
And for those that are on the call, Amy, who can't see that, it's Miss Jackson 5. And yes, I believe I have the coolest email ever. It's missjackson5@ua.edu. So
that is pretty great. So we've put our email addresses, we've put the website out on the chat. I think we're about out of time today, but thank you so much everyone for coming. We will be posting the materials on our website soon, and we hope that you join us for our February webinar. Thanks so much.
Thank you.